We got a jet that's AOG, and owner's in the lobby and ready to go. And you're the only one with the wrench and a signature. You want in?
Hey, so welcome back to the Pulse Advantage podcast. This is Diosetti Pellegrin here with my business partner,
Daniel Rios, the CEO of Pulse Aviation.
And in this episode, we're going to take a look at the mechanics, their career in private aviation, what's great, what's rough, and how to prep and get ready for being a mechanic in the private aviation industry. So let's take a look. All right, Daniel, so obviously today we're talking about mechanics, their career in the private aviation industry. So let's talk about that. I know you've spent, what? Well,
almost 30 years.
Yeah. So you spent obviously... And you've built this, Pulse Aviation over the last 3 going on 4 years in private aviation. So let's talk to the viewers out there about those careers out there as a private aviation mechanic, right? So what's involved? Where do we start with? Or I guess where's a good place where we can open it up and give an introduction to that career path to being a mechanic?
Okay. My biggest thing right now, and I've always harped on this even with my mechanics and my people here in Pulse Aviation, is the high impact and responsibility that this job carries. Yes, it's going to be a great rewarding career, but we hold so much responsibility. We hold so much in regards to the impact of what our work does, how good we are at maintenance, how diligent we are with our paperwork, and how we track everything and all the traceability that comes with that. You got to remember, like, my philosophy is something you worked on. Would you be okay with your friends and family getting in this aircraft and flying and going to their destination, right? And, guys got to remember that our work keeps all these executives and their families and their, and their co-workers, keeps everybody safe, keeps the pilots safe. Remember, we build relationship with pilots. These are people we see on a daily basis. They become friends and family because of just a close-knit relationship we have. So, again, I always stress, especially with the guys coming out of A&P school, the younger generation, that this is a high impact and a very, very high responsibility career field.
Okay. And now, just quickly there, you mentioned A&P school. So for the viewers out there not watching, can you, I know you'll probably talk about this in the schooling, but what's that A&P school?
So Airframe and Power Plant School, that's what A&P stands for. Yep. It's a license that we need to sign off, especially in Pulse Aviation. I'm not letting you touch an aircraft without an A&P license. And what that A&P does, it lets the operators and the aircraft owners know that you've been through, either it's an 18-month course through a technical school, or you've been to college, for a 4-year college, that you did obtain an A&P license because you got the hands-on and you met the criteria that the A&P has for, your general, which is basically your general knowledge base, and then your airframe sector, and then your power plant, and then you've built that. Not built it, but it lets the FAA know that you proficiently went through these courses, you passed them successfully, and you demonstrated the knowledge you have for the FAA to hand you a license that says you are now qualified to go work on a jet.
So we talked about the basics, obviously, of an A&P and the technical school in that aspect. What else can a mechanic look forward to or look into when they actually get out there to a hangar?
Okay, the biggest thing, especially in the U.S., because we're not as stringent and strict as like EASA, where over there you need actual type ratings and you have to have on your license the qualification to work specific airframes. Here in the U.S., an A&P is a canvas blanket cover, lets you just work on jets. But what you can expect when you're coming into this environment is aircraft variety. So you're going to have multiple manufacturers, multiple models, anything down from the type of jets, the avionics systems you're going to be working, the engines you're going to be working, the type of interiors you're going to be dealing with, and the never boring, as we say out in the hangar. Because you know what? When you do come into a hangar and you work on these different aircraft, every day is not the same. You're not coming in like a car mechanic and all you're doing is changing oil all day. You're coming in, one day you're changing tires and brakes. The next day you're coming in, you're doing engine accessories where you had to take it out, run engines. The next day you could be troubleshooting a system with meters, and you're shooting what we call shooting wires to find faults in systems to help remedy whatever is going on with that plane. So yeah, as an A&P mechanic in the private aviation world, you're going to expect a lot of variety. Every day is not the same. And yeah, you can just expect a wide range of experiences.
All right, Daniel, so let's talk about the demand for mechanics in this day and age and into the future, as well as the pay, what the pay scale looks like for a mechanic in the private aviation world.
Yeah, so we are experiencing aviation pilots and mechanics. We got a really, really big shortage of mechanics and pilots. As an employer, like, really good mechanics are becoming very scarce. Either the older generation that has retired out. As my generation gets older, we tend to go into DOM roles and in management. So you're starting to have a lot of really talented, a lot of experienced mechanics leave the floors and go into office positions. And the backfill of the younger A&P generation, it's just not there. And what this industry is starting to experience is A&Ps are becoming real scarce. But what that also does, it definitely kind of tipped the scales in a mechanic's favor, because now you're starting to see a rise in pay scales. You're starting to see added benefits to lure the better talent to certain positions throughout the United States, even overseas. A lot of great overseas contracts for American A&Ps. And also you're starting to see, a lot of employers like myself, we sit down and have conversations on, besides working on jets and working on really great machines, what else could a company do? So you're starting to see overtime payouts that are becoming a lot more beneficial to a mechanic, to entice them to look at everything across the board, from their regular pay scale to what the overtime can look like, but also to now we have what we keep talking about, AOG, aircraft on the ground. In maintenance, that's more of like, mechanics like to refer to more of an inconvenient thing, because you're getting called out of bed, you're getting called on the weekends, you're getting called on holidays. So employers like myself, like I can speak from my experience, I'm starting to reward greatly, and what we call sweetening the pot. I'll even do things sometimes to do like, you work 1 hour, I'll pay you for 2, because I'm actually rewarding that person to come in on the inconvenience of, say, a Christmas. Like you get a phone call on Christmas, and it's like, hey, I got a jet that just broke. I need to get 2 or 3 wrenches on this plane. But what I'm willing to do to compensate for the inconvenience, I'm willing to pay you and reward you for sacrificing your time with your friends and your family. So mechanics can now experience that, where great pay scales, overtime rates are a lot better, and the AOG, if you're dealing with a facility that does AOG, the hourly benefit goes up dramatically, which benefits the mechanic.
Yeah. So I mean, what that tells me, for those of you, whether no matter what age you are, you can be fresh out of high school, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, you can still obviously go get your A&P license. Within, like you said, a year and a half, 2 years?
Year and a half. Yeah,
you're getting your license and then getting. But what that tells you, I mean, for those of you out there looking for a career change, or you just graduated high school, you're deciding what to do, I mean, that gives you job security. Yeah. Because as the older generation is retiring, some of them are doing that, or to your point, they're getting promoted to a director of maintenance, management level positions. That entices other guys to come up and become a mechanic. Yeah. So the job security very, very high. And the pay scale, I mean, we're not going to go in depth into exactly what you get paid, but I mean,
it varies.
Right,
it varies,
exactly.
But it's a lot better than when I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
When I could be honest and open about this. When I started out of the military, I was making $18 an hour as an A&P mechanic, and I mean that changed pretty drastically, like in a short amount of time for me. Just because, like I said, I built up the skill set and more responsibilities, and obviously the money goes up with it. So, yeah, I mean, you could expect a lot. Even coming out of a trade school, I don't like to discourage the younger generation to stop working with the hands, because, there's some of us that are intellectuals. There's some of us that are amazing mechanics, and it's something that guys shouldn't be ashamed of. Like, don't think you have to be a lawyer or a doctor. It's okay to work with your hands, and I think that needs to be emphasized too nowadays, because in today's society, I think with the Instagram and, all this famous stuff, I think the kids who can weld, the kids who can analyze mechanical equipment and realize, hey, this is what's affecting the operation of this, that's a talent in itself, and I think a lot of people need to start recognize that, and it pays pretty damn good.
Yes, yeah.
It pays pretty damn good.
You are paid very well as an aircraft mechanic. And again, it's too many variables. It depends in what side of the aviation world are you on. Where we come from, more the corporate side, the private jets. But you have the ability to be a mechanic for Amazon. You can be a mechanic for Amazon. You can be a mechanic for commercial airliners. The Deltas, the United, the what are the other ones out there? American. So you got those. You can be a mechanic for a charter company, or even for just a small little flight school that just has a few, small piston engines.
Piston
so I mean, there's many variables, and obviously, the more exclusive, the more high demanding, the higher the pay, and also experience comes a long way. As a brand new, just out of school, you earn so much, but after 5 years, 10 years with the experience, additional certifications, levels of experience, multiple manufacturers that you work with, because you've got the Boeings, you got the Airbuses, you got the Falcons, you got the Gulfstreams, different variables. So there's a a lot of variability, but the pay scale is fantastic. I mean, in all reality, as a mechanic, you start in the mechanic world, it's going to pay you more than becoming an automotive mechanic. I mean, an automotive technician is probably going to start 30 to 40, 45,000 at the high end this first year, and you're probably just, changing lube. Oil changes. So
oil changes and tire rotations.
Right, and tire rotations. Where as an A&P licensed mechanic, you can look to start in that 45, 50, $60,000 range as the low side. It could even get up to 65, 70,000. So fantastic. Now, what other unique experiences, travel, what else presents to someone looking at private aviation mechanic jobs? I mean, obviously, depending on who you work for, where you work, travel, unique experiences can be. I mean, I know you yourself have traveled many parts of the world.
Halfway around the world and back. I've been to many countries. Great experiences. I mean, I've traveled a lot. You're going to have those unique experiences. Anything from like, one day you're doing a pre-buy, another day you're doing a field call. I mean, and it goes on. You go into a new hangar, you go into new hubs around the world. You're dealing with, different people, anything from the talent of a flight attendant to a pilot to the ground crews that help at airports to the FBOs, meeting people, management, front desk. I mean, it's ever revolving. And I mean, if you're a person that really doesn't like the monotony of I'm going to my desk, I'm punching in, doing what I got to do, punching out, going home, this is a great career field. I mean, it's a great career field.
Right, I mean, the ability to travel different places of the world, because remember, depending on who you work for, where you work for, they'll move you, travel you, fly you somewhere where they specifically need your expertise and your mechanics. So you get to travel, you get to experience different things in the world. Absolutely.
This episode is brought to you by Pulse Aviation. Your journey to unparalleled aviation excellence begins with Pulse Aviation. Whether you're seeking to acquire the perfect private aircraft, ensuring its airworthiness with a comprehensive pre-buy inspection, or maintaining peak performance, Pulse Aviation delivers unmatched expertise and personalized service. Our certified technicians and experienced sales professionals are dedicated to exceeding your expectations. From sourcing the ideal aircraft to ensuring its long-term reliability, we handle every detail with precision and care. We understand that your time is valuable. That's why we offer seamless, efficient solutions tailored to your unique needs. Contact Pulse Aviation today. Send us an email at info@pulseaviation.com to learn how we can elevate your aviation experience. And now back to the show.
Okay, Daniel. So a lot of great things, from the pay, the experiences, the entire aspect of the private mechanic aviation world. But now let's get into really, not everything's all daisies. Not everything is perfect. I mean, it's a tough job.
Yes.
So for those out there looking to dig into it, start it, or even intrigued on learning more, even if you're sure you want to become a private jet mechanic or any aviation mechanic, let's talk about the tough things. Let's talk about the cons, the struggles. What does make the job difficult?
Okay, the biggest thing, obviously, coming into this, obviously with experience, it's no big deal anymore, but the irregular hours. Coming to A&P school, you're not working 7 in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. That's just not happening. This is a seniority-based business also. So you walk into a hangar, guys have been 5, 10, 15 years putting in the grind. You better believe they have the better schedules. And you can't come in, because you're not even going to get hired, to be honest with you. If you come to me in an interview and say, oh, I'm used to getting up at this time and I like to be out by this time because I have, that's just not a non-negotiable from an employer. Yeah. You're going to the bottom of the totem pole and you're going to work your way up. So you can expect irregular hours. Another biggest thing, especially with newer mechanics, is the on-call stress. The nights, the weekends, because what guys got to remember, this is a 24/7 business. We have on-call hours. So it'd be like, hey, Friday night, here's the phone. And if that phone rings at 2 in the morning, there's no, I was sleeping, I didn't want to wake up to get the phone. You're picking up that phone. And obviously some people can't deal with that on-call stress. And when I was younger, it was a stressor. I worked all week and my employer requires me to be on call for 24 hours. And I'm really tired because it's a tough job. It's something you got to be real passionate about. But, you get to those certain shops that have the on-call. And if you're put in that situation where you have the phone for the weekend, sometimes, quietly, you're like, please don't ring, because I just need a break. But, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, the pilot's calling you, hey, I got an oil pressure issue. Hey, I got this. Hey, and you got to answer the call. I mean, it's just the nature of the business. So, yeah, weekends, nights, holidays, it's happening. This industry is always moving.
Right, absolutely. A very a very high demanding job. I mean, it's great pay, great industry to work for in, but the reality is, just like sports or anything in life, your first year when you're that freshman, you're brand new, I'm not necessarily saying you're getting hazed, but you are going to be working the hours you likely don't want.
You got to pay your dues.
Exactly.
You got to pay. It's in anything. You got to pay your dues. I did it. Fun fact, I worked night shift from 6 p.m. to 6:30 for 15 years. I worked that, and I worked weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, and those were my work days. And it was like, you're a 20-something-year-old kid, and you're like, my friends are partying, and I'm stuck in a hangar working, but guess what? Your friends are asking you to borrow $20 because guess what? Everybody wants to be a baller, but you know what? You got to pay your dues to do it, and I've been there, and many mechanics have been there. Some tap out. Some say, yeah, this ain't for me. And I can respect that. I've had guys over the years go, you know what? I thought this was going to be great, but these hours, I enjoy my Christmases and New Year's and whatever else, and that's more important to me than this, and I can respect that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that, it's just you pay your dues, but I've also, as I paid my dues, I saw the quality of my life get so much better. I've made a lot of money, and it's parents these days are shocked to hear how much mechanics make, in a good environment, how much a mechanic can make. So.
All right, so obviously the hours, your first few years, you're getting by. You got to show your worth. You got to prove yourself and get to the level where you work a more stable or consistent schedule. But what else? I'm sure there's a big physical demand.
Oh, huge physical demand. Like we do it here in Florida, living in Florida, 120-degree hangar. And you look at that nice cool breeze to kind of just get some relief. But yeah, I mean, the hot and cold ramps. I mean, that's talk to any mechanic up north, down south, out on the West Coast, man, it can be a hellish environment, whether you like the cold or you like the heat, vice versa. It's just, it's tough sometimes. I've worked, so I've had the experience where I've worked -10 in the middle of a night. Jaws are frozen, your hands are frozen, and you're trying to turn a wrench to get something off a plane, and you're trying to hurry up and get this thing done so you can get back inside. And that's just the nature of it, And then there's also, like me being from Teterboro, cramped hangars, where I'm talking about planes stacked on top of planes. And obviously, right, you got to be aware of your environment because you're moving parts and stuff like that. You're moving equipment. And, unfortunately, sometimes accidents do happen. Somebody bangs into the fuselage of a plane or something. Another thing I've experienced is, depending on the shop you're in, loud tools. You get a rivet gun going, and these things are banging against, buck bars, and it's loud. And sometimes it can be overwhelming, depending on how many guys are on shift, how many and what type of things are being worked. It can get very loud in the hangar. It can get very loud.
Okay. Yeah. It's a high demanding job in terms of the hours when you first get started, and even as you get further. But then, guys, some things are heavy. You're in cramped, tight spaces at times, depending on what part of the fuselage.
Good old hellhole.
The hellhole, the heat, the cold. So
yeah.
A high demanding job. What else? I mean, what's paperwork compliance? I'm sure with the FAA and all those aspects, there's got to be. It's not like a simple mechanic who just changes an alternator, car's gone. What's paperwork and compliance look like?
The funny thing in this industry with mechanics is your best tool is your pen, because you always got to have a pen on you. And there's a running joke, like when you as a mechanic, hey, can I borrow a pen? It's like, you don't have a pen on you. So that's a running joke with mechanics. It's like, always have that pen ready, because that's going to be your most valuable tool. But yeah, you guys could expect, if you're doing an 8, 10, 12-hour shift, the job's not done till the paperwork's done, and that's just the way it is. I mean, that's the way the way it goes in this industry, because not only just saying, oh, I got to sign this off. It's you got logbooks you got to sign off. You got in Falcon we got camp cards. Basically camp cards are your tracking cards for the jobs and parts you've changed. So I mean, sometimes the paperwork can take you hours, and that's the reality of this business. And this job is not done until that paperwork's signed off and you have verified, parts removal replacements. You have signed off that you verify the aircraft is airworthy for release. There's a whole bunch of things. There's audits, and make sure, once you're done with all the paperwork, now you got to go back over to make sure you didn't miss nothing. And that's super time consuming sometimes. I've spent in overtime, personally experience, after doing a 10-hour shift, let's just say I got off at 12 midnight and that was my clock out time. I could expect to stay in that shop for 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure paperwork's done. And that's just the nature of the business.
So beyond the paperwork, what else can a mechanic expect to handle, have to take care of, or responsibility additional that they might have?
Number one investment, obviously, is going to be your tools. So most new mechanics are actually shocked when they're like, I got to build a toolbox. The shop doesn't give me that. There's very few flight outfits. There's one operator, to be nameless, but they've gotten to the point in their infrastructure where they give mechanic toolboxes. I'll tell you right now, 99% of the shops, you're going to visit the good old Snap-on, man. Myself, Milwaukee, and you're outfitting a toolbox. That's your investment, right? So you want quality tools. You don't, listen, I've met guys that come in with really crappy tools, and when they're done with a plane, it shows they use crappy tools, because in reality, tools do make the job, and it shows in the workmanship. Just quality tools, more precise, there's more precision. They don't tear up parts as frequent as a cheaply made tool. And then another thing too you could expect is, we got OJT, right? So as you do a job, you're going to sign off on a card for the the environment you're in, and your employer to say, hey, last night I changed main wheels, so there's going to be OJT forms. And then like your recurrent training and stuff like that, it's a time buildup more than a monetary value. It's time put in. So the newer guys could expect they're going to turn wrenches, they're going to be learning all day. They're going to be signing off certification paperwork to say that they've been trained properly, they've done it by the maintenance manuals, and then they could expect during that job that after the job is done, they're going to be signing off cards to certify that they've done things per spec, per manufacturer recommendations and manuals, and the list goes on and on. But all that training adds up, and that's what we talked about earlier. Once you get to a point when your folder goes from this to this, that's where the mechanic can say, I'm good at what I do, I'm very proficient, I'm trained properly, and this is why I'm starting to demand the numbers that I'm starting to demand.
Right. And you would imagine, like we talked about earlier in this episode, I mean, the demand is so high and the amount of people qualified is so low that if you truly are someone committed to the role and the position, your negotiation ability and the leverage you bring is so high, because there's few mechanics. There's a high demand for them, but if you do your job right, you stick out and you're going to be rewarded. And that's the great thing about this industry, and why a mechanic career is a great avenue for anyone out there who's interested, working with their hands. They like working in aircrafts and any type of machinery or fabrication. So a very rewarding job. Any last thing we've missed out before?
Liability.
Oh, okay.
Liability is huge in this. As we talked about, when you get your A&P, you're assigned a number. And if you want to call it your serial number, whatever you want to call it, if you have to kind of put that in your mind, basically that's your stamp. That's you saying, I did this work, I did it according to whatever, I signed it, certified that it was done properly and that it's safe for operation, and that's your liability. So we have a thing, it's your signature, it's your license, and it's your name on the line. I mean, we have checks and balances, what we call buybacks, where an inspector comes behind you, and they'll re-verify everything you're doing. So there are checks and balances for safety. But the mechanic has to also approach every job like, hey, this is I got to take this serious. Like I could hurt my coworkers, I could kill somebody, And unfortunately, throughout the history of aviation, simple little mistakes have killed people, and it's an unfortunate event that happens, as we talked about, with plane crashes, because they're catastrophic. They're very traumatic to people who view it and experience it, and ultimately it can kill people. And so the guys got to understand what we call whipping paperwork. You'll have guys, and I've experienced it, where they're like, I did that work, and they sign off because they're just too lazy, and they think, oh, well, nothing's going to happen, so I'm going to go ahead and sign this off. So that's a big no-no in this business. And for the younger guys out there that are going to watch this, they need to know that this is not a game. Safety is number one, and then it's your liability, because if something does go wrong, and the FAA, and I can give you a quick glimpse of what the process is, God forbid something happens to a plane that leaves my shop. Right? Whether it's just an incursion where they hit another plane or whatever, FAA is going to look at everything across the board. The weather. What were the what are the factors of this incident or accident? Was it weather, the key in this? Was it pilot error? Was it maintenance error? And they're going to look at, and they're going to want to see logbooks. They're going to want to see everything. Soup to nuts, right? They're going to be like A to Z. We want to know everything that happened with this plane that could have led to this problem. And I'm not talking just when people get killed. I'm just talking plane slides off a runway. Well, right. Was it raining? Was it ice? Pilot error? Did a mechanic do something in the brake system that could have caused this? So mechanics need to understand that. If you're going to put your name on a piece of paper to certify on an aircraft that, hey, this was done in accordance with this, and I deem this safe for operation, it's your liability.
Right. Yeah. So it's a con, but the reality is that's your workmanship. It shows what you did, whether great or bad. And obviously through training, like you said, through inspection, buybacks is what you said?
Yeah, buying it back. So you go up to an inspector, hey, I just did this job. Can you buy it back before I close it up? And an inspector will go behind you, make sure it's installed properly, make sure everything's secure, make sure, everything's good to say, okay, close that up, and we can get this thing out the hangar and get it ready to fly.
All right, so we talked about some of the pros and cons. Obviously, pros, an amazing industry to be in, high-paying jobs, high demand, and almost no mechanics out there. So, I mean, we touched base on the pros and cons, Daniel. Let's talk a little bit. Let's just do some rapid-fire myth busters here, and let's talk about some myths that are out there. I mean, corporate side versus commercial side. Which is better in terms of mechanics?
There's a big misconception out there that, oh, you guys in the corporate and the country club, everything is so lax and loose versus the airlines. And no, we all follow the same regulations. We all have to follow all the same guidelines. We're all under the same pressures. I would say corporate has a little more pressure than the airlines, only because with the airlines, they have a set schedule. Plane has a 7 o'clock flight. They know that plane has a 7 o'clock flight. We do the same thing in corporate, but we also have what we call pop-up trips. It's like you could be inside loading software and you get a phone call, hey, that plane has to be ready in an hour because the owner needs it and he's got to go. And it's like, so there's different little variables, but yeah, they call us country club mechanics and stuff like that, only because of the hardware we're dealing with versus the airlines. And that's a big misconception. But yes, for the viewing public, we all follow the same FAA guidelines. It doesn't matter what you're working on. If you're putting tools to an aircraft that flies in government airspace, they need to follow those regulations, and that's a fact.
Okay, so for our viewers out there saying, I don't need an A&P, there's no reason I need an A&P, I can still work on a plane, right?
No, you still can work on a plane. That's, that the regulations have that. You don't technically have to have a license, but you better have a mechanic who's willing to work with you and say, yeah, I'll shadow you and I'll sign your work off, because that mechanic is going to be responsible for that work. So that's a big, I want to say it is a misconception, but at the same time, it's not. But yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, in this shop, you're not coming in here with an A&P because it's liability. It's a key to the sign-off. It's everything we need to get these planes back to service safely and efficiently, and everybody's liable, and that's just how it operates. Have I had non-A&P mechanics in the shop before? Absolutely. I've had them in as learning, not, well, you're cheaper help, so I'm going to hire you without a license. Because that's not the case. I don't ever want to put that liability on any mechanic. Now, I'll have a younger guy come in. Maybe he's in school already. He's learning about the business. Hey, you know what? Experience a day with us. I won't let you do too much. I'll let you do a couple little things while a mechanic is watching, because I would never leave that person alone by themselves.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, and then there's a myth or misconception out there that freelancing is easier. It's easier money.
Oh, God. So here we go. And it's coming, and I'm starting to see this a lot in younger A&Ps. Well, I have an A&P license. I can go, well, why should I work for you for $50 an hour, $60 an hour? I could go make $150 an hour on my own. Really? Because you know what? Unfortunately, you better know your insurance and what the insurance is going to allow you to do. You better know all your tooling and your calibration is up to code. Because if you change a tire, you're not just taking any old torque wrench and torquing down to spec, because you want to have that calibrated. Make sure when you're doing, whatever the case may be, 70 foot-pounds, you're putting 70 foot-pounds on that axle, because all this stuff is very precise. And another thing, you better know your regulations, you better know your paperwork, because I've had the experiences in the past where vans will pull up, work will be done, 3 hours later, I'm getting a phone call as the owner of the company. Hey, were your guys working on my plane? No, we weren't. What's going on? Oh, no, we had some mechanics come out and work on our plane, but something's not right. Can you come out and look? And we go out and look, and jaws hit the floor. And we try to figure out who's doing what here. We don't touch the plane because we're not taking a liability. And I've seen it, and the whole thought process, unfortunately, is, oh, well, I can freelance and make a lot more money. Yeah, you can. If you know what, if you're a skilled mechanic and you know your stuff, I've had some great freelancers come through when I'm in a bind. When I have, say I have five men on the floor, but that day I require 9 or whatever, 8, 9 people. I got to find those experienced freelancers. A guy, hey, are you willing to work with me for the next 3 days on a 1099? Because I got to get this work done, and I got to know that you're experienced enough and knowledgeable enough to do this. So I'm going to urge everybody, if you decide you're going to freelance to make more money than the standard pay rate, you got to know the 3 things. And you got to know what your insurance is going to be and carry insurance, because some people think they can get away with not having insurance. And you better believe you're a freelancer, and I'm paying you as a freelancer. You're coming in with your own insurance proof. If your tooling is coming with you, I got to make sure your tooling is right, and you better know your paperwork, because the last thing I want to do after a long day is chase anybody down for improper paperwork.
All right, Daniel, as we close this out, what's one quick tip you can give out there for anyone, who's either already decided to go into a mechanic in the private aviation field or thinking about it? You're still deciding, you're fresh out of high school, you're finishing high school soon, or you're 20s, 30s, whatever age, and you're just looking for a career change. What are any last tips that you can offer?
For a mechanic, I could definitely say digitize. Digitize, digitize, digitize. Your employer will thank you. Future employers will thank you. And the FAA will thank you, because if you have 1,000 sheets of OJT forms, or now with the A&P logbooks that are out, you digitize that, quick access. Somebody needs something on demand, even yourself. Like you need to, hey, what did I do on the 15th of May? I can't remember. Instead of fumbling through all these papers, maybe misplaced paper, stuff like that, if you got it all in one place on an iPad or something, and you go right back to it, quick search, May 15th, boom, everything pops up. So go ahead, guys. That's the quickest tip I'm going to give you, is digitize all your OJTs, your A&P logbooks. Digitize, 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 and you can thank me later for that.
Yeah, so with that, I want to thank you all for watching. Look, I want to hear from you. Comment down below and let us know, what did you learn about this? Did anything stick out? Whether you're wrapping up high school, just wrapped up high school, you're looking for career change, whatever it is, comment down below. Is private aviation mechanic, is that something you're interested in, want to learn more about? If you do want to learn more about it, go ahead and comment down below. We're more than glad to reach out to you, talk to you. I mean, Daniel does this a lot. I've seen him bring in a lot of kids looking into the aviation industry and teaching them, showing them the inner workings of it so they can understand. So we're more than open to providing you with more additional feedback, right?
You want to learn about being an A&P, or you're currently an A&P, let's just say in the airline side of it, and you always seen private jets going by, and you think to yourself, hey, man, that might be cool to work on. I wonder, how do I even, because I hear that a lot too. Hey, how do I even get into private jets? I didn't even know how to get into this. And you know what, guys, if you're curious, I'll do you a favor. Shoot us an email with any of your questions about the industry and your interest maybe, and gauging what you want to do. Just shoot us an email at info, I-N-F-O, at pulseaviation.com. Myself or my team members would be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Or, hey, maybe you want to tour the facility. Maybe you want to see what a Falcon looks like up close and personal. We'd be more than happy to show you. We do it all the time. So, guys, go ahead. If you're really interested in this and you want to learn more, just shoot us an email. We'd be more than happy to help you.
Absolutely. And with that, many of you guys are watching us, but they're not subscribed to the channel. So please go ahead, subscribe to the channel. And then before you take off, click right here. And in this episode, we talked about the different type of classes of private jets, from entry, low jets or light jets, all the way up to the heavies and the ultras. So go ahead, click here, watch that video, and we'll see you there.